Okay, year 2, the next step is to paint the background. And you're going to do that using the wet on wet technique. Now, if you remember, wet on wet is when you paint the paper and then you use plenty of water on the paint. So we're going to start off by using black. Now you can choose whichever areas of the paper you want to paint black. I'm going to paint up here, I think. So I'm painting it all with water, all the area that I want. And then I'm going to use my brush on the black. I don't want it too wet, so I'm going to use my tissue to help me. Okay, I still think that's a bit wet, so I'm going to dry off my watercolour just a little bit. And there we go. Spread out the colour, and you can see that the black turns a grey colour when you're mixing it with the water. Okay, so I want that bit black. What else do I want black? I think I have black around this section here. You choose maybe 3 or 4 or 5 sections maybe where you want to have black. Black there. Okay, where else? I think I might have black coming down in this section. Be careful not to go over the edges of the shapes. So use the tip of your brush when you're going around the edges. Okay, need to add some water here. And a bit more paint. Okay, there we go. There's my black watercolour, wet on wet. And now I'm going to start to add some other colours. So I'm going to paint this section here. I'm going to use my wet brush, and then I'm going to add yellow paint. There we go. I want it yellower than that, so I need to add a few layers of yellow to my work to make it darker. There we go. And then let me try adding yellow here. So paint your paper and then add your yellow. Okay, make it as dark as you want, so keep adding layers to the paper. Okay, and then I'm going to have one more area of yellow using wet on wet, and all the other areas I think I'm going to choose to do red. Okay, try and make sure that your watercolour is going onto your page in one direction, because you don't want lots of brush strokes on your paper. Remember to clean your brush between colours and wipe it onto the tissue. There we go. And when you are using wet on wet, the paint spreads very easily. Okay, and the colour is really light and pastel-y because of the amount of water you're using. Okay, one more little bit of red. Okay, it takes a little bit of time. Okay, so there we go. There is my background. And now I'm going to think about the shapes. And to do the shapes, many of the shapes I'm going to use dry on dry. Now, because the shapes are smaller, I'm going to use my smaller brush. Remember, when you do dry on dry, you want to keep the paper and the brush as dry as possible. You need a little bit of water. I'm going to use blue first of all. Little bit of water, but not too much, so dry it off on your paper. And first of all, I'm going to do a pattern on my ruler. Now can you see the colours when I use dry on dry are much brighter. Let's do a pattern going across, and then I think I'm going to add some yellow to the pattern. So keep your brush nice and dry. I want it much darker than that. There we go. You see the colours are much stronger when you're using dry on dry. Okay. And year 2, what I'm going to say to you is continue to add pattern to your shapes. You might want to, I suggest you use dry on dry for most of these shapes, although what I might do is, yes, I'm going to use dry on dry for these shapes. So the colours, if you use dry on dry, the colours will be much brighter than the background, and I think that would be a really nice effect. Okay, so I'm going to add waves of pattern on here, and then I'm going to use my red dry on dry to make some patterns. Okay, dry on dry. You might want to do some squiggles. I'm going to try using green. I'm going to do some squiggle shapes. But I suggest year 2, that you stick to the main colours in your palette. So yellow, blue, red, black. So don't add too many colours. I think I have now used enough colours to be going on with. And you can add as many dry on dry patterns as you like. Okay, now I'm going to leave you to finish that. You can make patterns in each one of these shapes now that you've done your background. And I can't wait to see the results, year 1. Year 2. Okay, bye for now.